Boy, howdy. May Blythe, and I had to search through all of my UTAU files to try and find a bank that this demonstration would work with. For this demonstration to work, there needs to be virtually no silence preceding the sample itself. So many of the banks had, and this is due to the proliferation of OREMO, had like half a second of silence preceding the sample itself, which meant that what I'm showing you would not work. So that was a bunch of big words that just mean this only works if you cut out the silence before your sample. However, you don't need to do that if you know how to do OTO files correctly. However, doing them correctly can be kind of scary and daunting. So if you want to use a pre-made UST, but you're afraid to do OTO files, I'm going to show you how to do them where they won't be great, but you will be able to use a pre-made UST without it sounding extremely choppy and icky. It will still sound pretty choppy and awkward, but it'll sound much better. Instead of doing this the way most people do it, I'm going to teach this in a slightly different way that if you can learn, it will help you so much when you start to include the things that make an OTO file an OTO file. Now let's go to Tools, and then setting the sound. Now let's talk about this name column right here. This is called hiragana, and there are two main ways of recording. This is called a CV bank. There's Romaji and there's hiragana, and hiragana is, I might get some flack for saying it, but recording in hiragana is just better because most USTs are in hiragana and very few are in Romaji. And if you record in Romaji, you'll need to go to this alias right here, and you'll need to have aliases. So if you had written A here, you would have to put this symbol here. If that's easier for you, then you should do it, but I have no quick and easy way of aliasing Romaji to hiragana. Another thing is that you might notice that this is not my program files. Do not do this to a bank that is in your program files because it will delete all of the information. Now, as a little demonstration, we'll just type in random values here. And we set it. You don't have to use this ever. I was just doing a quick demonstration. Now, let's say we had done that for everything, and we quit by clicking this. Do you know what happened? All of that work was deleted. The only way it will save your OTO file is if you click OK. And remember, if this is your project program files directory, it will delete it because UTAU doesn't have administrative privileges. Now, all of this just to get to what's important. What is the most important part of a CV OTO, and what will allow your bank to sing any UST regardless of if everything else is set to 0? That is called the red line. Its technical name is Preutterance, but you can just call it Preutterance or top of note, but we're just going to refer to it as the red line. So luckily, when you record in hiragana, all of the vowels are up here. This may be a reason it would be easier for you to record in Romaji, because all of these would be symbols you can understand. However, I'm going to show you that when it comes to the red line and only the red line, knowing what those symbols mean doesn't really matter. So, with CV banks, there are different ways to handle vowels. However, there is a tool that will fix the vowels to sound better. So when you're doing a vowel, which is just an a, I, U, E, O, just leave the red line right here. This is not a vowel. This is ye.
Ye. Ye.
So I'll pull up the spectrogram. It would be better to use a human bank, so it would be a little more defined. But like I said, I searched, and every single bank that I pulled up had half a second of silence. Yeah, it was like half a second of silence before the sample, whereas which means that it would sound pretty wonky if you only did the red line. So where does the red line go? It goes where it looks different. This looks different from this, so you put it there. U is a vowel and doesn't need anything. This is we. Now, where does this go? This looks different from this, so we put the red line right in between the difference. The same with this. This looks different from this, so we put the red line between the difference. Same here. And now we're past, and with 2 more clicks, we're past the vowels. So now we're on the consonant, the CV, the consonant vowels. And then again, where does this looks different from this? So where do we put the red line? Where it's different. This looks different from this, so we put the red line between the different parts. And the same here, and you can check. This looks different from this, so we put the red line there. And it just is the same. You just put it where it looks different. As I said earlier, this isn't really a great example because this is a computer-generated voice, but I was struggling to find any bank that wouldn't be really awkward. Because we're not using the green line or the pink area or the blue part, it would be really, really awkward to have half a second of silence. It is important that you learn those eventually, but not today. Today is dedicated to the red line. And this is different than this, so you put the red line right where the difference is. And as a note, beginners, turn your ears away for a second because I'm going to use bank words. When you're doing Renzokuon VCV, this is the exact formula you do. This is exactly what you do. The only difference is that you get the red line where it needs, you get preutterance where it needs to go by moving offset back and forth, and you won't run into any issues of I can't remember left and right. You won't have any issues where there's no white because the in blank will be set to negative so that it will always be the same amount away from the beginning blank. Okay, beginners, you can listen again. I was just saying that a more complex method is exactly the same as this. So is this different from this? You can say it's here, or you can say it's here. If you're just now learning, and this is all you're learning to do, don't worry. It's going to sound wonky no matter what you do with this method, so being a little bit off won't matter. So you just click and pick where it's different. You can see that this looks pretty similar, pretty the same, but this doesn't. Now you will notice that this does look different from this, but ignore that. What you'd do for this is you'd pull this out. This is called end of data, end blank, right blank. And you'd cover that up so that wouldn't affect any of the synthesis. However, we're not dealing with that today. It's only the first part that's different that you put the red line between. Ignore this. And you just keep doing this. This is different from this, so we put it in the middle of, and no, that's not top, and I want the red line. This is different from this, so we put it where the different parts meet. This is different from this, so that's where we put it where the different parts meet. This one is a little difficult, so I'll pull it up spectrogram. It's a little harder to say this is different from this for most samples using this waveform view, but sometimes you need the help. It's more important to learn spectrograms than waveforms though. And you access the spectrogram by pressing this button right here. And as you see, oh, this one. Whew. So, like the one before that I didn't say about, you can see that this is different. This is really hyperactive, scratchy, and this isn't. So this one, things like K and S, I haven't been saying what they were because what they are doesn't matter as long as you can tell the difference between one part and the other. But for things like S and K, it's easy to see the difference, even when you're like this. But for some, it's not that easy. So this is different from that, so you put it there. That is different from that, so you put it right there. And you just keep going. And no, and going, and going. Oh, sometimes you don't pick the right note and the right line, especially when it's so hard to see the difference. Oh, and by the way, I don't know when I picked it. You can write this, you can make it less bright or more bright. And that might help, and it all depends on what you like more. Because if it's dark, you'll see that the main vowel starts around here. So you'd put it in, actually I would, based on it being this dim, I would put it there, which I think is a little more correct. But you can put it, but if it's this bright, I'd be more focused on this white blob. And you can right click this and you can change the range, which will change how big or small it is. And I have it set to the largest range possible just because I like it better. And you can choose different colors depending on what is the easiest on your eyes. I, as you can see, like it to be red. Actually, let me see if I can read the kanji. I can't. And you just keep going, and it doesn't need to be perfect. If you're not doing all of the OTOs, it's never going to be perfect, but it will be usable for pre-made USTs, and it won't sound really gross, and I don't really know the word for it. But here's another thing. This green never, ever, ever goes after the red. The green always comes before the red. The only time that isn't the case is when you leave both at 0 for vowels. The green always comes before the red. If you can get this down, it won't be difficult to get the rest of it down. This looks a little difficult. Yeah, that's right.
that,
I'm not going to show you tips to make sure you get it perfect because, as I said, it really doesn't need to be perfect. You're going to be facing a lot of issues. This is just a way to start so that you can play with your bank without it sounding icky. I just mentioned the green before red thing because setting green after red will make it sound worse than if you have no OTOs at all. So it's pretty mindless now. You just look at it and you say, this is different from this, and we can check. That isn't, yeah. The thing that makes it so different is this white band down here. So when we change it, we can see that this is very different from this. And different vowels and different consonants will have different, I guess you could say, tells to say where it's different. And every voice bank will have different spectrograms and different ways of telling when two things are different. But as I said, getting it perfect isn't important. Just getting it to the right area of where this is different from this, so we put it where the two different parts meet. As long as you can get used to that, you can use pre-made USTs, no problem. Yes, I am recording. I always get so worried that I'm not recording. Now, here's some irony for you. For a lot of banks, it's really hard to tell the difference between N or M and the rest of it when you're looking at the waveform. But when you're looking at the spectrogram, it's pretty easy to see this is different from this. Oh wow, that's dark. Let me crank up the intensity. Yeah, this is different. This is different from that. And this is different from that. And it just keeps going and going. This one is a little hard. So let's pull down. This, I think this might be the correct part. Anything that has nyani nu neno, kyaki kyu kekyo, kya kyu kyo, nya nu nyo, the tiny little ya, you, yo down here will be a little difficult. But as I said, you're not trying for perfection, you're just trying for something good. Maybe not even good. You just want something that doesn't sound bad. Because it won't sound amazing unless you have the full OTO done. But it will sound tolerable as long as you put the red line between where it is different on both sides. That's all you need to know. I'm working on bees right now. Not the bees! And they are a lot shorter than the other stuff we've been looking at. So it can be harder to find the exact right spot because there's so little of the first part that is different. And it's hard to figure out exactly which part is different. But as I said, if you're making the effort to get the red line in kind of the right place, it will sound a million times better when you use a pre-made UST than if you just did nothing at all. So don't worry about it being perfect. Just focus on, does it look different? Does this right here look the same as this? It doesn't. So just put it in the general area of when it starts looking different. I'm basically cheating by using this bank because it is completely computer generated. This is the default bank that comes with UTAU. I moved it out of my program files so that I could do this. And because it's completely computer generated, it's way easier to see the division between same and not same. However, if you're stumped, play with this. And if you're really stumped, look at this and see if there's any help there to see what's the same and what's different. And that's literally all you have to know for the red line. And the red line is what's important. Oh, we're almost done too. once you learn the hiragana and you learn the order, doing CV is a lot easier because you can say, oh, I'm on ma, I'm almost done. Now, as I said, why I'm using this, if you have a lot of silence before your sample, you have two choices basically. You can cut it out or you can learn to OTO. How scary OTOing is for you depends on what action you take. I suggest OTOing it correctly to OTO it out, but if that's too scary for you, don't be afraid to edit your samples. A lot of people will be happy you did that because it saves space on your computer hard drive to have neatly trimmed samples. So this is well. Let's see. Huh. And then oh,
O, O,
which is another vowel, and which is another vowel. And these
Ga, Ga,
are weird nasals that you don't. I I've seen a lot of people record them, but I've never seen them in a UST actually. So we'll just leave those alone. And now we just press OK to save all our work. And let's see how long this took it. I had the advantage of knowing what I was doing from years of doing this, but it only took me about 30 minutes. I suggest doing this in UTAU itself. There is a program called Spectrograms that is amazing. If you get do if you become proficient enough, you can do an entire bank, left blank, right blank, overlap, preutterance, consonant, all in under 15 minutes, no problem. But when you're doing stuff like this and you're first learning, UTAU is the best for making OTO files. And I do hope that everyone who watches this and learns something will go on to make full OTO files for the UTAUs in the future. But right now, if you just want your UTAU to sound good as soon as possible without nearly as much effort, then this is all you need. I hope I was helpful. Bye.